Creating custom pendants is one of the most popular things for new jewelry makers to create. In fact, a lot of times that's why people start making jewelry to begin with, is they see the variety of cool glass tile pendants at a local craft fair or something like that, and they want to get started. They are really easy to make, so you can do many custom projects. In fact, in the book itself, I give you tips on how to create a custom bracelet out of your Instagram photos if you want to do that. It's really cute. So check that out if you enjoy this project. This time we're going to make a postage stamp pendant. And so what you need to get started with that is a glass tile, some scrapbook paper, a glass tile glaze. This one comes from Sun and Moon Crafts. It's their specific proprietary one. I'm sure there are others out there that work equally as well. I just happened to buy them all in a kit together. It's really a handy way to get started. You can experiment with some different size pieces, and they send you necklaces and veils and all kinds of stuff. So I do recommend that if you're just getting started. You'll need some scissors and some E6000 glue to connect your bail when you're all done. So the first thing I do typically is I start by choosing a tile and kind of just running it over the top of different images on my scrapbook paper. This scrapbook paper is actually sold by Mod Podge, the same company that does decoupage medias. These are special papers. I mean, they're not really different than a scrapbook paper. This just happens to be their collection. So if you want this particular set, you can look there for it. But just kind of move your glass tile around and see what images work for your design. And once you find the image that you like, I'm going to go ahead and use this one here because it's smaller to fit my smaller tile here. Polish the bottom of your tile just to remove any fingerprints or greasy marks, anything like that you might want not to show up in your final work. And then apply your glaze directly to your scrapbook paper. Use enough glaze to sort of cover the area almost to the edges, not quite. Then you're going to lay your tile on top and sort of let it float. Don't press it down, just let it kind of float on top. If you press it down, thinking you're going to remove air bubbles, what you actually do is sort of introduce problems. It actually dries as if it's sort of glittered. It gives kind of a funky end impression. So just lay it on top, let it settle, and it'll squeeze the glaze out and give you a really nice finished look at the end. So I have one here that I already have dried. We did it last night, let it dry overnight. And I do recommend, if at all possible, to let it dry overnight because that kind of gives you the best end point here. Then just cut it out. You can use either like an X-Acto type knife and a cutting mat, or just scissors is fine as well. I like to cut fairly close to the edge. If you would like, you can go ahead and apply a layer of glaze to the back of the pendant and just apply it with a paintbrush because you don't have to worry about it pooling or any kind of glittery marks on the back at this point because that just sort of seals it. So if it does get wet, it doesn't ruin the front finish. It just gives it a nice extra edge. Then I like to sand the edges of my pendant with even just a nail file is totally fine to give you a nice no sharp edges. It's softer when you wear it that way. When that's all done, all you need to do is then attach your bail to the back. My glue of choice for that particular job is E6000. Just give it a little dab onto the glue-on bail. Adjust it where you would like it. Give it a bit of a squeeze. And then just set it aside to cure. In this case, I would like to let this cure upside down just because I think it'll stay in better contact. If you lay it down on the back, given the way that this bail is positioned, you risk pushing on this area and then it could bend easily like that, for example, and dry, and you don't want that. So you have a few minutes to play with the positioning of that. And then when you're happy with how it is, let it dry overnight. And then once it's dry, string on your favorite chain. In this case, I used a copper-colored ball chain. And you're all finished, ready to go with your vintage-inspired post-stamp pendant.